Welcome, everyone. And we're going to jump right into our practice. We're going to be doing a 30-minute practice here. And so finding the posture that you can try to maintain with stillness for the next 30 minutes. And if you need to move, of course, you can go ahead and do so, but try to do so kind of mindfully and slowly, but only if necessary. And you could be sitting on the floor, in a chair, lying down. And if you're comfortable doing so, I'm going to invite you to close your eyes. The object of our meditation in this practice is going to be the emotional body. So what that means is we're going to be looking to connect with sensations that are arising and passing in the somatic field, in the body, that are related to our emotional state. So we're likely going to have other sensations arising, maybe discomfort in a knee if we're sitting on the floor, maybe some tightness in muscles, feelings of heat, pressure, that are just kind of physical sensations. So we're just going to allow those to be in the background, but hold in the foreground the physical sensations that are, to the best that we can guess, are related to our emotions. So in order to do that, we'll bring our attention to our inner energy and just kind of touch base with where we're at right in this moment emotionally. And we may find that we have strong emotions are present. Perhaps some that are a little quieter or more subtle. And we may even find that there's not a lot happening in the emotional field. It feels quite quiet and peaceful. If we're finding that we're feeling pretty neutral and peaceful, we can hold our attention with that relative inactivity in our emotional space and just enjoy that stillness, that peacefulness. But if you're checking in and you detect there's an emotion present, what we're then going to do is notice where in the body you're experiencing sensations related to that emotion. And if there's more than one part of the body that is experiencing a sensation, just maybe at this point zoom into one particular part of the body, to one particular sensation. And this technique will apply to whether the emotions are pleasant or unpleasant, neutral. And once our attention has landed on that particular sensation in the body, that kind of local sensation in a part of the body, we're going to hold our attention there, just kind of hang out there for a few seconds. And just notice what's actually happening here in relation to the quality of the sensation. So you may notice as you're observing, there might be a bit of a tingling sensation there, maybe waves of energy moving through. There could be a drawing in or tightening, pinching. There may be a radiating out or spreading. And you may even be able to get a sense of a size of the sensation. How much space does this take up in your body? Does it have a shape that you can get a sense of? Does it feel kind of flat and thin, or more round, more kind of like a 3D shape? And after we've hung out and really investigated that particular sensation, we can let the attention release, be more open, kind of lightly scan through the body, and let it land again on a sensation that's related to emotion. And it may return to the same place, especially if there's a lot of activation there. It might land somewhere else. But wherever the attention lands, we then hold all of our focus as best we can with a real friendly curiosity. So it's really important. We're developing our concentration skill by holding our focus with each sensation that we land on. And we're also really importantly going to try to say yes to whatever's occurring, even if it's challenging, even if it may not feel very comfortable. And that's going to develop our equanimity. A good way to be more friendly and open, equanimous with our experience is to try to drop the mind's discrimination around it. So let's do our best to forget why these sensations are arising. Let's become really interested in how they're showing up, in what part of the body. What are the contours of this sensation? How would I describe this to someone? As I'm observing the sensation, does it grow in intensity? Does it fade? Does the size that it seems to take up in my body get larger or smaller? Is there a temperature that you may be able to detect in relation to the sensation? Does it feel warm, cool, or neutral? And in some meditation practices, we use labels. And this is a wonderful technique to weave the use of labels into. And how we could do that is every time our attention lands on a sensation in a particular part of the body, we could use the label feel. We're connecting to the feeling, the somatic feeling, the sensation. And then we would hang out. We would do that little investigation. What am I actually tuning into here? What's happening moment to moment? And then when we release the attention, maybe after 10, 30, 45 seconds, whatever feels right for you. When the attention again next lands on that or a different sensation, we would use the label feel. And labeling helps us in two ways. One, it can help us stay on track with our meditation. So if your mind is very busy and it's pulling you from the practice, using labels maybe a little more frequently can be helpful. And then if your attention seems to be a little more stable with the object of our meditation, you could use less labeling or even drop the labels. You could even say the labels out loud, which can make them even more effective. And whether we're saying the labels out loud or silently, try to do so with a calm, relaxed tone. And using labels is helpful as well because they apply a neutral label to what might be a challenging experience. So whether we're having deep experience of joy or anxiety, fear, happiness, we use the label feel for every emotion, pleasant, unpleasant, neutral. And that also helps us build equanimity, not grasping to the pleasant emotions, not pushing away the unpleasant. And it's not unusual when we bring our attention to a sensation that it will intensify for a time. So if that is happening for you, try to allow that to happen. Make space for that sensation to grow or intense in shape or size, to grow in intensity. Again, developing our equanimity, our saying yes to what is arising in the moment. We're not practicing this technique to get rid of our emotions. We're practicing to change our relationship to them in a way that will reduce our suffering, that will reveal perhaps the more true experience of them, which is less mediated by our thoughts around them. So we're not interested in the story or the narrative behind the emotion. We're doing our best to hold all of our attention to the physical sensations as they arise and pass, as they change. And if we observe closely enough, we will notice that the sensations are constantly changing. They may be spreading or shrinking, getting more dense, more light. We notice maybe tingling or bubbles moving, waves flowing, pulsation. Not interfering, nothing needs to be any different. And if the mind wanders, when the mind wanders, because it likely will, to thoughts unrelated to the practice, it may get drawn to a sensation in the body that is not related to the emotion. If we have a pain, for example, in a part of the body that's tugging at our attention, just returning the focus back into the emotional space. All of these other distractions, and they may be external sounds as well, they don't need to stop. We're just not going to pay attention to them for these next few minutes. So with a light heart, over and over, returning the attention back into the emotional body. With that very friendly curiosity, tracking in real time what is happening. Be interested. Get as close to it as possible. Allow an intimacy between you and the experience in your emotional space. Maybe even get inside of the sensations that you're connecting to. Sometimes when we bring our attention to what's alive in us in the emotional body, it can provide an opportunity for a purification, a release. So if that's arising for you now, or if you're practicing this in future, if you're able to stay present, focused on what's happening in the body and allowing that to build, to come to the surface and release, that can be a true clearing of perhaps blockages, of energy, sankharas. It could generate a release that may come in the form of tears, laughter. But it's important to not go into the mind, not go into the stories, the histories, the future, keeping all of our attention with the physical sensations and opening as fully as we can to what's arising and passing. If you're not sure if a particular sensation is related to your emotions, it's okay to guess. It's not always clear. But a good place to look, if they're more subtle, is to the center line of the body. So the belly, solar plexus, heart, throat, and face. If we're having an intense emotion, it can really appear throughout the entire body, maybe even feel like it's spreading out beyond. using the labels if you're finding yourself being distracted or losing contact with the practice. Labels feel if you choose to use one. And allow yourself to be surprised. I learned some new areas of the body where my anxiety showed up today. They were new to me. So let go of any ideas about how these sensations will appear and how they'll behave. Try to get to know them as well as you can. And if they're subtle, then that's a way to develop our concentration skills even more deeply. For these last few minutes of the practice, allowing the eyes to just gently open to a soft gaze, unfocused, and see if you can continue the practice. So we're letting a little bit of the external visual field in. So again, upping our concentration skills by trying to maintain most of our attention with the sensations in the body related to our emotions, continuing to practice.